Welcome to the fucking news. I'm your host, Kellerman, and here's some of the shit going on in the world today. In Nigeria, 50 people were killed, and an unknown number of people were kidnapped in a gang attack on the village of Yargoji. A plane carrying the vice president of Malawi and 9 other people went missing. There's an ongoing search and rescue operation, but the government says the plane just disappeared off the fucking radar mid-flight. In the United States, a barn fire killed 44 horses and 1 person in Ohio. An apartment building in Miami caught fire also, and while the firefighters were putting it out, they discovered the body of a man who had been shot to death. A fucking bull jumped the fence at a rodeo in Oregon. It injured 4 people before being captured. And South Korea has restarted their anti-North Korea loudspeaker broadcasts. So today, North Korea restarted sending balloons of trash and feces over the border into South Korea. Welcome to the fucking news. I'm your host, Kellerman, and here's some of the shit that's gone down in the Middle East over the past few days. On Saturday, Israel's military rescued 4 hostages taken by Hamas on October 7th in a harrowing rescue operation from Nuseirat in central Gaza. Soon after, Hamas's military released the information that as many as 274 Palestinians were killed during the rescue operation. As usual, they were not clear on how many of those were Hamas members versus civilians. They also said that 3 of their captives were killed by the Israeli army during the operation, including 1 U.S. citizen. It was also reported that Israel used the temporary pier built specifically for humanitarian aid during the rescue operation, but the Pentagon in the United States released a statement saying that the IDF used an area near the pier and not the pier itself. The Human Rights Watch released a report showing that Israel has been using white phosphorus munitions on South Lebanon, and though the report did not include a death toll, it did say that at least 173 people have been injured and more than 92,000 have been displaced by the attacks since October. And after weeks of threatening to do it, Israeli War Cabinet member Benny Gantz has resigned due to a lack of post-war plans for Gaza. Welcome to the fucking news. I'm your host, Kellerman, and here's some of the shit going on in the world today. After what seemed like a relatively short trial, Hunter Biden has been found guilty of all 3 counts of illegal purchase and possession of a firearm. He faces up to 25 years, and I find it just a little interesting that I'm not seeing any reports of this being a rigged sham trial. The U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement arrested 8 suspected ISIS terrorists in New York, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia. Over 4,000 residents fled the town of Tia in Mexico over the weekend when a gang battle broke out, killing 2 people and setting 17 buildings on fire. In India-controlled Kashmir, at least 9 people died and 33 were injured when a group of militants opened fire on a bus carrying Hindu pilgrims. The vice president of Malawi's missing plane has been found crashed into a dense forest, and unfortunately he and the other 9 passengers have been confirmed dead. And a quick correction from yesterday when I reported that a man had been found shot to death in the burning building in Miami. He was not dead. He was taken to the hospital and is in critical condition. Also, police have apprehended a suspect they believe to be responsible for both the shooting and setting the fire. Welcome to the fucking news. I'm your host, Kellerman, and here's some of the shit going on in the world today. At the G7 summit, U.S. President Joe Biden and Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky signed a 10-year security agreement with all 7 countries pledging to give a $50 billion loan to help Ukraine buy weapons and rebuild infrastructure. In Italy, a fucking brawl popped off in the lower house of parliament when Leonardo Dano interrupted Roberto Calderoli to give him an Italian flag during discussions of a proposal that some say will further impoverish southern Italy. In Argentina, thousands of protesters took to the streets in protest of a new reform bill that could deepen the country's economic recession. The protesters lit cars on fire and clashed with police. At least 20 officers were injured and dozens of people were arrested. And a quick catch-up here. So 2 days ago, an Israeli strike killed a senior Hezbollah commander in southern Lebanon. This isn't footage of it, but yesterday Hezbollah retaliated by launching over 100 missiles and drones into northern Israel, targeting 9 military sites. Then today, video footage was released of Israel using a trebuchet to launch balls of fire into Lebanon. Welcome to the fucking news. I'm your host, Kellerman, and here's some of the shit that's happened recently that I haven't had a chance to report yet. In Puerto Rico, 2 power plants were shut down, leaving 340,000 residents without electricity. Over in Kuwait, a fire broke out in a residential building, killing at least 49 people and injuring dozens of others. The United States has lifted its ban on supplying weapons to Ukraine's controversial Azov Brigade. And Chiquita Banana has been ordered to pay $38 million to the families of Colombian men killed by the United Self-Defense Forces of Colombia, also known as the AUC. Chiquita claimed to have been extorted by the AUC, saying that their payments were only to protect their employees, but ultimately they pleaded guilty to funding a terrorist organization. Follow me if you give a shit.